All right, welcome back. So today, proportion. Today I'm going to go over, as we look, give you some info. We are on week 13 of 16, which means that there's 4 weeks left. Week 13, 14, holiday break, then week 15 and 16. So we are on the back end of the class. Things are closing out, and once the end of the semester hits, it closes. There's no extensions. Just kind of keep that in mind. If you're waiting for something special to get the work in, do it now. Today, I will go over proportion. The proportion research. I'll go over the proportion project. And then Thursday, I'll go over project B part 1. That will just allow you to not think about this and make sure you get in project A final in. And then we'll talk about that on Thursday and kind of give you some ideas on how to figure that out. It's something new and exciting. So let's talk about proportion and design. All right. Let's get this zoomed in. Start going. All right, proportion. So we're talking about the composition holding different items and different things in different aspect ratios to help define what's important, what's not important. It can change the outlook of a piece depending on how we use proportion overall within our designs. As you hopefully know, proportion refers to the size relationship between two different objects. This will go in the best. Sometimes I feel like the best way to talk about it is that reverse, kind of like your project is, here, if we kind of just do this. So they say that's a house and a tree. But then what if we do this? Basically the same size tree. And I do a small house. The only thing I did differently was change the size of this. But by doing it differently, we get the sense of maybe that it's just not smaller, but it's further away. Oh, the tree is in front and the house is further away. Or you can do, the big house and the small little tree in the background, So you can reverse that as well. So size and scale help maintain, that, or tell the story of what we have going on. So we do that specifically to show, those differences in the design. All right. There is something that we use in design called the golden ratio. It comes from nature also. If you can't, excuse me, when you get people who are really into dissecting the design, I don't have it. I have to scroll over. I have it on a piece here. I'll talk about, well, here it is. The golden ratio is a way to look at things that it's like kind of goes bigger and you're splitting up proportional sizes next to each other, but where everything is, and you can keep going, is in relative proportion and size to the next one. So I think it's like 1.68. This is 1.68 smaller, 1. And it keeps going down in value, but in a circle, this spiral. And some people get nuts with this and can like take apart a logo and be like, if you look at this logo, it has been, created using the golden ratio, and they'll like do all these line drawings on it. Let me see if I can find it. Sometimes they show the Apple logo like that. Give me 1 second. Yeah. So yeah, people go nuts about it. Like finding out all the exact ratios. And like, so this one is like, there's the golden ratio behind it. Then it's showing the relationship of like every circle used to create this logo. So like all these with 8 is this size. The 13 is the large one. So people go nuts when it comes to this. Here's this person's explanation. This one's slightly different. Like this one's slightly different again. So you can like, there's people all over the place. Just like tear this apart, find all their different, ratios and proportions. So it's very funny. Here's just like this general one. You can kind of put this over anything and figure and see what that golden ratio is. But it's supposed to create an aesthetically pleasing design no matter what. So it's cool, it's great, but depends on how far you want to go when dealing with that. Hierarchy. This should be of utmost importance when you design the hierarchy and you use proportion to help establish said hierarchy. So when you're working on like posters or whatever, like your poster, the name of the concert series or whatever should be big comparatively. Like that's why you put it big and at the top. So the scale of it is bigger than anything else, the headliners or the images. Like you want people to read that first. And so you make it proportionately bigger than everything else within the design to help people know, like, that's what I should be paying attention to. And then you can do that. You can rearrange it. Like I can even make this the dominant, even though it's at the bottom, it doesn't have to be at the top, but I can make the lower part dominant just by making whatever here is really big. And then the rest of the stuff is, small and has like little information, but we always know at the bottom is where we're going to find all the information we need to find. Visual weight. It's almost exactly the same. The hierarchy of scale is a visual weight, but we can mess with that with color, font sizes. Like this is visual weight. This is a thicker font. This is a heavier font, excuse me, than this. And so it carries more weight. It's at the top. It's more important than this. And so the visual weight of this is set aside for a reason. That's why I made it bolder. So when you came and you looked at it, you would understand like, oh, this is the title. And then I read the other stuff as it goes across. Aspect ratio is the determination. It's the width and the height of an object or image. Aspect ratios work differently. People associate them with different things. A big one to talk about is all of our computer screens now, the aspect ratio is 16 by 9. It's 16 wide by 9 tall. I don't know the theater aspect. It's like 23 point blah, 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 blah by something. I think it's by 6. And that's like really long and skinny. Like that's the new theater style. Old TVs used to be 3 by 4 or 4 by 3. So it was 4 by 3. So it was just outside of a square. Speaking of aspect ratios, historically, the reason it was 4 by 3 is when they were inventing the film strip. Somebody asked what size should it be? And the answer was like 1 by 0.75. So this is 1 by 0.75. And that's the only reason. There is no real thought. They just gave some numbers. Instead of square, they said 1 by 0.75. So that's aspect ratio. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, that when you scale aspect ratios, it doesn't always perfectly divide out as we think. there is a proportional relationship to scaling. So it's a lot. It involves, like, if you wanted this in 3/4 size, you have to do the math. It's just not like, it's not as automatic as you think. We used to have to use a proportion scale. It took a while to learn, but they are super cool images. This is it. This thing right here. So if I was scaling something up, like back in the day, and I was drawing something, and I did my thumbnail sketches small, and then I needed to scale it up, I would figure out, if 7 inches, or I have 6 inches here equals 10 inches here, that means it's it's 170%, but then I could go, if 6 is 10, and my other size was 20, that's 12. So this would help me scale out and make sure I didn't mess up the proportion of what I was doing. Many years I had to use this until computers were used all the time. And now you can just scale it by holding down Shift. All right. Spatial relationships. It's just, the relationship of distance between objects. How do they work with each other? Proper spacing, alignment contribute to the overall sense of proportion. You got things tight together, spread apart. That can make things feel bigger or smaller. It goes back to that very first assignment, one of the very first ones where I did crowded or open. Like if you design something and it's like, it's this or it's this, even though that they're the exact same size, the spatial relationship makes us feel different about this one than it does about this one. And then last but not least, cropping and framing, or not. And I'll talk about a little bit about this because this is fun in the end. Cropping and framing, that can change the look and feel of anything. I love using cropping. When you read the section in the book about framing, if you it's all about, like, say this is a side profile of somebody, like normal size, but if you zoom in and really get, their mouth, like that's their nose, like that changes, cropping changes the way we look at it, and zooming in and framing. It's the same picture, but I cropped it differently than I cropped this one. So it makes a huge difference in the way we view that image. If we view it far away, we're not as involved with the person. There's their hair in their ear. That's just a portrait. But if we zoom in and we're like seeing like their nose and like spots, it becomes far more personal when we zoom in than if we're far away. And it changes that. Finally, another great part, and we do this more and more, I did this a lot more in my old place, is architectural proportion and using, we do much more design into spaces now, where they ask you design the room and design like what's going to go on the walls and how, and you can change the way people perceive a room simply by the architecture that you do inside the room. Indoor. Comes down like images. Looking at stuff like this and how this changes the way we read stuff, how it changes how we think about the spaces that we're coming into or going in from and around. Think of like museums. Museums do this great, where all this stuff on the walls become information centers. And then the scale of the stuff that's on the wall really changes the way that we perceive what's happening. Look at this hallway. you know, and this is just graphic elements done in the hallway to change the way we look and feel about that. And we do more and more of that as graphic designers, as printing technologies change and the ability to be able to graphic more and more things becomes available. We are do more and more architectural design as well. Let's talk about these. Huge. What do you need to know? The sail is huge. Biggest word on the page. We got arrows pointing to it. It's huge. What's the least important thing? Multifamily. And then garage sale. You can skip the multifamily. Huge garage sale. That's all we need you to. But the biggest one we want to is it's huge. And there's a garage sale. And it happens to be multifamily. How great is that? All that one and done. It's there. We got arrows pointing at it. All the information is right there. Beautiful color background. But the way we laid out the information, huge. Let's get your attention. Garage sale second, multifamily, even though it's in the middle, it's not as important. All done with scale. This piece is a lot of fun. It works in a couple different ways. She's in the foreground. She's not huge, she's not a giant. It's not the giant woman who attacked whatever. She's in front. Is she escaping? Is she getting away? She's sneaking around. And they used her as the framing point for here. We got some fist fights going on here, a couple other fights going on here. But they broke things up and used her as the framing element to get us into the picture. This is a little bit like the assignment that you're going to do, the project. It's kind of the reverse proportion. They didn't just, if they did her at the normal size, she would be, as this big, as tall as those guys. I got to move this over to get I want my pen back. She would be, this big. Crawling on the ground. Here's her head, crawling on the ground. And it would be crazy and cool. And it wouldn't be nearly as great, But we did this reverse proportion, brought her to the foreground. We're zoomed in, we're low to the ground, and all this kind of action is happening, framing it in. She's kind of looking away, but almost looking here to 7 savage punks on a weekend binge of violence. Love it. So much fun. Here's the golden ratio that we talked about. As you can see, it is broken down into these sections. Most important, biggest space is right here. I want to see what I'm going to buy, and I can click through these different buttons to show me different pictures, but I want to buy with my eyes, and so I'm buying there. Second thing I need to know is what am I paying and what's the size? That's this area. So we go from 1 to 2. This is the next important. Least important areas, and they kind of weirdly broke this into 3. Like over here, they have it broken out that this would be a section. Share, play, save. I would say save is the most important. Maybe that's why they said it's up here in the golden ratio. Share. I don't know how many often people are sharing their buying needs with somebody. I know it always comes up and I'm like, why would I want to share that with you? And I don't know what play does. But as you can see, the way it's broken up, it does kind of involve the golden ratio as a means to share the information from most important, second, third, fourth, and then so on and so on. Colin Hughes. I think that's what it says. What's the most important thing in here? Getting lost in this picture. Oh boy, oh boy. People are sunbathing on a mountain with some crazy indoor, outdoor style pool. So rich and want to be that person. And so they made that the biggest thing on the page, right? This is it. We want you to get lost in this and find out more just over here. But this is the important. And it's kind of, this is, you know, and proportionately, this is almost overwhelming compared to just the small amount of text that we have. So you can play around with that. People just are going to stay here. Oh, I love that, blah, blah, blah. I want to know more about it. Oh, what's Colin Hughes? Then you find out more. Last but not least, like every great superhero or movie or whatever it is, oh, I didn't realize 2012, is we do it in a world. You know, and it makes it sound so dramatic. In a world. And these small people, you know, here's the horizon, and the world is just rising above them, in the mountains, and then the clouds, the steam and clouds. For some reason, I got a moon showing through, but like they're enveloped in this world, and this looks like, you know, kind of city streaks or something like that. So, just, you know, showing the grandiose atmosphere around these people to show, you know, help describe this movie, Tycho, whatever it is. But, or is it a play even, whatever it is. But it's just done to do with the proportion, to make you feel like, oh my gosh, they have so much to do in this giant big world of theirs. And then that's why it's done like that. So are they going to be going up to the cold mountains, or, you know, staying in the hot city? Like, that's what I get out of this. So proportion, you know, using that to tell this story. Vast expanse or hot city underground. So that is an overview on proportion. Now, you are to come up with, you know what to do for your proportion and your projects, but you need to come up with 3. Oh, let me go to the reverse proportion. And what does that mean? All right. 3 compositions to define reverse proportion of design. 3 compositions in which 2 or more elements are used in reverse proportion to each other in a creative manner. It's not as hard as you think. I am going to do one example for you. Got my square format. because I'm just drawing this out. I'll try to do like a cartoony version of it. And then I would do type. It's a jumbo shrimp. Oxymoron. I don't know what they call it. Is that an oxymoron? No. I forget that reversal thing. But anyway, I do a big drawing. The shrimp is huge. The text is small. And it defines something. I just talked about the simple ones. And that's a really easy one to do, is that reverse proportion is what's bigger. You can do that with horizon lines. Like, is one bigger, one smaller? Is it further away? How do I know? What do I do? How do I figure that out? So have some fun in creating some reverse proportion. There's a billion things you could do that are really fun and different for that project. So that is where I'm going to leave it today. On Thursday, I'm going to go over the new design project, but I want everybody to finish up week 12 and get in there Project A final. And then Thursday, we'll talk about the InDesign project for your final large project of the semester. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All right, cool. I will talk to you on Thursday. Good luck. Bye.